Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, kjradio.com. Could not be more thrilled to have you join me listening to the show, getting your feedback. That's starting to come more and more. I don't know whether it's 2018, you're opening up. We've formed a relationship. You feel like you're comfortable with me. Whatever it is, take me home to daddy, right? Whatever it is, I'm glad we've found ourselves, and you guys are starting to communicate more. Now, I've been getting your other stuff, and you guys know I write you back, and we have our dialogue, but I'm just telling you, the volume increased. Maybe you had more time on your hands during the holiday. Maybe you're more resilient. You feel, that's not the word I was looking for. You're more, it's like you're feeling good. I'll think of something else for it, but you're feeling better. You're like, you know what, 2018, that Kevin Jackson's right. We left an amazing year. We're starting an even more amazing year with lots of things that are due to happen. And you're going, we're at the brink of stuff, man. Why doesn't it happen? Why does not this stuff? I'm ready, Kevin. I'm ready to watch the Clintons go to prison and some other people do this. And I'm ready to watch my stock portfolio continue to grow. We just blasted through 25,000 on the Dow and all. I mean, it's a crazy time. Crazy good if you're a conservative. So what do I want you to do? I want us to focus today on patience. The theme today is patience. And what's funny is I'm probably one of the worst people to talk about it. I'm impatient. I've learned how to deal with it. Aren't we all sort of impatient? Well, it's brought, I mean, it's sort of an innate thing. You're born with it. You want it now. Once you become aware, from your development as a little toddler, a little baby, and you become a toddler and you want something, you want it now. Tolstoy said, the two most powerful warriors are patience and time. Now, let me tell you something about yourselves, conservatives. You've learned patience. You've learned how to pace yourself. You've learned that you are not going to become the CEO of a company in 2 years. You've learned lots of things, that you have to put things off. You have to wait. You have to save, that things come to you as you, in other words, like you collect baseball cards and you don't think, next year my baseball card's going to be worth money. You think in 50 years or 100 years, and you plan that. You push it down the road. You buy gold or silver and you say, yeah, I don't care what it costs today. I know it's going to have intrinsic value down the road, and it may even have more. You plan stock portfolios. You plan for your college education for your kids. You have learned patience. And what's funny about it is the quicker you learn it, the better. But let me tell you who's not patient. Leftist. Leftists want what they want, and they want it now. They want it immediately. We want nationalized health care, and we got Obama. Boom, you get Obamacare. And they gave it to us whether we liked it or not. They didn't look at it and say, wait a minute. Let's look at the bad parts. Let's take that. Let's do this methodically. Let's take this patiently. No, we're going to ram it through. Now, they claim that's what we're doing with taxes and all these other things, and the abandonment of Obamacare. All we're doing is undoing the reckless nature of their lack of patience. Now, when you think about patience, and I already gave this away, the most impatient people on the planet are children. Children want what they want when they want it, and if they don't get it, they're in the supermarket doing little, waddling around on the floor throwing temper tantrums. And you know what we've done? We've indulged their lack of patience. We don't want to fight them. Go ahead and give them the doggone candy bar. Give them the lollipop. Let them go to the zoo. Just stop. We've indulged their lack of patience. And that's our fault. Because we know what's right, we know what's wrong, and we still have let them get away with it. And you've exercised patience. You want to know why? Because you've believed wrongly, that leftists will correct themselves, that they will outgrow it. Your kids generally do, because they eventually get into the real world and go, holy cow, people are no longer catering to me. People aren't showing patience for my bad behavior. In fact, they're revolting against it. So see, they're forced to learn life's lessons. That's the sad part of leftism. You can talk about all these things in your theoretical, think tanks at colleges and universities, but when reality hits, it's going to kick you square in the naughty bits for you guys. Girls, I don't know. It'll punch you in the face. The funny thing about reality is it doesn't care about gender. It doesn't care about religion. It doesn't care about sexuality. No, reality doesn't give a crap. Reality's like, what? Oh, you need a dose. And it'll slap you upside the head. And it doesn't care. It says, so sue me. Reality is a mofo, okay? And it will hit. There's no question about it. So you've exercised patience. You did it the right way. Now, I'm not telling you that I think we waited too long. We could have shaved a decade off this, all right? But for whatever reason, God saw it in his wisdom to make us wait till 2016 to figure things out. And that's when we decided, okay, it's now time to act. Because as I said, Tolstoy, you know who he is. The two most powerful warriors are patience and time. In other words, it was just a matter of time before we decided we were going to go to war. And we did it. And what did we get? We got this amazing U.S. economy. We have this amazing president who actually cares about us and who actually wants to make sure that the legislation that he puts forth benefits Americans. British poet Edith Sitwell said this. She says, I'm patient with stupidity, but not with those who are proud of it. And that's probably one of the most profound things you could use when you're talking to a leftist. Same thing you could do when you're talking to your kids. I'm patient with stupidity, but not with those who are proud of it. Can't say it better myself. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville. Can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy at KYKN. His name is Gator. And Gator has a show on, this is a radio station up in Oregon. And these guys, Gator's like my brother. The station is one of the few stations that took a chance on me early on. We had to do a lot of stuff during the holidays due to travel schedule and quite frankly, the holidays and just needing some time off. And we did a lot of best of shows. And you know, the affiliates, for the most part, they don't complain because they understand, you know, I'm pretty busy. And we had an issue with the guest host. So we've had issues, around that. And I haven't had many guest hosts. We will this year when I'm having to take some time off. But these guys show nothing but patience in letting us get everything kind of aligned again. And I want to thank those guys from that and all the affiliates because, you know, it's a tough business. And I wish I could be available 24/7 for everything, but it can be very difficult. And sometimes you just run out of steam. And quite frankly, during the holidays, I wanted to spend time with family and friends, as I know you guys did as well. I think our best of shows are amazing because they're stuff that I believe are relevant to life in general, not just applied to politics. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to guys at KYK and Gator. And also let you guys know I will be coming to an event. I don't have the details of it. It's in Oregon. I believe it's on March the 2nd and 3rd. And I'll get more details around that and let you guys know. I will also be in California at a Horowitz event, David Horowitz event. I'm also scheduled to be in West Palm later in the year at their big event. I said in West Palm. And I'll be speaking in St. Louis later in the month for you guys that are in that market. I know they carry my show at 97.1. So I'll be there at an educational conference speaking there. And also we're going to showcase, talk about the movie at that event in a sidebar event. So lots going on. I say this all the time. If you guys have something you want to do with us as a team member, if you say, Kevin, I'll host a fundraiser for the film. I want to be a location where we show the film on the dates that we decide we're going to let it. We're talking about the end of March for bleedingbluemovie.com if you want to know what I'm talking about. We're doing a film to showcase the other side of the police story. But if you want to be a part of that, let us know. We love having your feedback. kjradio.com. You can call us at 844-551-8255. So there's a lot to discuss, folks. And one of the things I want to talk about is this conundrum that the left has presented that they don't even know that they don't the funny thing about the left is that they don't realize how stupid they are. And I'm not saying that to get laughs out of you or chuckles or whatever, even though, let's face it, they are stupid. But I'm telling you that because I'm a logistician. I like to look at the logic of things and the order of things. That's just the analytical brain that I have. And I look at these people and I say to myself, do you understand what you just said? What you just said is counter to your argument. I call it the death spiral. You get a leftist talking about an issue, and suddenly he's just spiraling. He's like, whoa, whoa. And then eventually he says, what? You're racist, or you're homophobic, or he's going to give you some label. There's a Swami, his name is Swami Sivananda, and he says there's something good in all seeming failures. You don't see it now, but time will reveal it. Be patient. And we appear to have failed. We failed in training the left. We failed in training our kids. They turn to the way of evil. We have failed in training this nation. And it seemed like we failed. We're like, man, all these things, especially 2008 when Barack Obama got in, and then, oh goodness, 2012. I've talked about this many times on this show. I don't know how many of my friends were just like, Kevin, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to lose the Supreme Court. I mean, people were, they were just morbid. It was like zombies. The day after the election in 2012, I don't think you could get punched in the gut harder to where it would just make any more impact. That day, it was like there was a cloud around me. And I know how I felt, and I was still trying to be optimistic because I was like, look, we gave it the best shot. Obama won, end of story. But I made a few, declarations of my own and said, I'm never following another Republican or any other conservative, or call it what you want. You people don't know what you're doing. I'm a strategist. I know how to win, and I'm tired of losing, so I'm going my own path. And I did. And that's why I sit here today talking to you. Now, I'm not telling you, I'm the baddest guy out there. Lord knows I'd love to be getting the press that Ben Shapiro gets. He's a nice kid, but I don't. I'm going to tell you, we are just as poignant in the things that we say and do, but I haven't had time to figure out all the little hooks to get to, 3 million website visits a day. But congratulations to him. But we are just as relevant. And so I look at, where we got to go with all of this stuff and how we felt. And I'm telling you, we had the air just sucked out of us. But we were patient. I'm patient right now. There are people out there who are, I will tell you, I have friends that are out there, man, they are just crazy numbers and everything else. And I say congratulations to them. But we're just going to be patient. My team, we have these discussions all the time. We could be doing better. I'm the one leading those charges. But I go, you know what? It's all God's plan. That's the thing that keeps me sane. But here's what I want to talk about with this leftist conundrum. See, the conundrum is a deranged Donald Trump is more effective than a sane Barack Obama. If you listen to the leftist media, they've declared President Trump mentally ill. You hear the words like, he's unhinged. He's unfit to be president. Now, keep in mind, this is after knowing the statistics around the Trump presidency. Probably, and I don't think it's probably, I think it's undoubtedly the best year one presidency post-war, post-George Washington. I'm going to defer to the past because they were putting together the nation. But in modern day, undoubtedly, the best presidency, year one, certainly in my lifetime, and I bet you in your lifetime as well. But they say the guy that gave us the 25,000 Dow, unemployment at 4.1%, the lowest Latino unemployment in history, lowest black unemployment, not in history because we were fully employed in the 50s, but certainly in a long time, probably since we've been keeping records. The more manufacturing jobs created in a year, Donald Trump created more manufacturing jobs in his first year than Barack Obama could create in 10. Those are the numbers. I'm not just making that up. And so they want you to believe this guy's unfit. He's unhinged. Why would you turn your economy or anything else over to this guy?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Look, Urkel live inside the mainstream media and they're giant, incestuous, almost like bubble. Well, then you might have seen that the economy under President Trump is on an absolute tear. This is good news for forgotten men and women in this country. Take a look at these numbers. Dow Jones now soared today to over 25,000, its highest number ever. The job market continues to boom. ADP reporting today 250,000 new jobs created in December alone, which is the most in 9 months for that survey. And take a look at this headline. Job cut announcements in 2017 see the lowest level since 1990, Challenger report says. And here's another headline. Manufacturing in the U.S. just accelerated to its best year since 2004. And earlier today, the president is moving to now open up offshore drilling That's right, off the coast, both coasts, and in the Gulf, which is vital to America becoming energy independent, the lifeblood of our economy. And that's just only some of the good news from this week alone. Unemployment, a 17-year low, 4.1%. Under President Trump, before the 250,000 jobs, 1.7 million jobs were created. That's now 2 million jobs. African American unemployment in America is now at a 17-year low. Food stamp use is at a 7-year low. 2 million fewer people using food stamps now under President Trump in 1 year. Home prices are up 6%. The Trump administration has now taken a chainsaw to burdensome regulation from our government. And for every new one they created, in terms of regulation, 16 have been slashed and cut away. There's GDP so far. We have seen 2 quarters of over 3% growth. And remember, Barack Obama, the only president in the history of this country to never reach 3% GDP growth for an entire year. Now, here's what the media will never tell you. Well, there's a night and day difference between the economy just a year ago and now under Donald Trump for 1 year. And under Obama's economy, I'll remind you, it was god-awful. Lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. 95 million Americans out of the labor force. The worst economic recovery since the 40s. The lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. 13 million more Americans on food stamps. 8 million more in poverty. 43 million total living in poverty under Obama in just 1 year. The economy is now turning around, and that's before the $1.5 trillion historic tax cut even had a chance to take effect.
Holy Toledo. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. What a litany of accomplishments. And that brings me back to what I was talking about, this conundrum of the left. And here's the reason why. I want you to thank yourself for exercising patience. Could we have speeded things up a bit? Perhaps, but we wouldn't have candidate Donald Trump turned president Donald Trump in the most crazy circumstances in a time when he shouldn't have won. And everybody was telling us the dude was unfit. He was unhinged. Don't give him access to the nuclear button. And what's funny is leading up to the president, to the Republican nomination, they didn't say that about Donald Trump. You remember? They were very Donald Trump, he's a viable candidate. Donald Trump, they wanted Donald Trump. You know what I'm talking about, right? Now, I'm not making this up. I remember the polling where Hillary Clinton and those people were like, these Ted Cruz and all these people, Donald Trump's the guy that we think would be the toughest guy to beat. And they were telling you their fear by there's a part of me that believes that they really, felt like he was the guy to beat. But what was funny, once they sort of made it to where he was the front runner, you could feel the fear of the left. It was like they went from this confidence of, let's get Trump because he's got all this baggage and he's a loose cannon. We'll be able to beat him, man. He's got so. And then they got him, and then suddenly Trump didn't change. And they were like, uh-oh. So he was unhinged. At that point, look at how crazy he is. He doesn't act presidential. So this he's written this book. His name is Michael Wolff, Fire and Fury. Everybody was talking about this cat over the weekend. It was during the last week, actually. They were talking about the book, Fire and Fury. This is where all the Steve Bannon stuff came to be, right? Oh, yeah, Steve Bannon said some negative things about Donald Trump, and then Bannon, oh, no, I really respect the president. Well, that's a whole other story. Steve Bannon's in big trouble. But I'm going to talk about that down the road. But in his book, Michael Wolff portrays Trump as stupid. And he claims Trump didn't want to be president, and he's unfit for office. Now, let me just tell you what's going on here. The left is trying to sell a narrative. They've now said, oh, Bannon, he said the same things. Michael Wolff is saying it, and they're promoting this book big time. President Trump's fighting the book. I just got an email from friends with the entire book in PDF. And I wrote to my buddies, and they were like, hey, give this book away so nobody buys it. And I said to myself, that's what they want. Somebody has already bought 5 million copies of this book and said, I'll finance it. Give it away. Let these people read it because they want you reading this propaganda. And here's part of it, what they said in this article I was reading. It says, Wolf's portrait of Trump as a one-dimensional figure who had no conception that he could win the 2016 election. Little clue what to do after he emerged victorious from the campaign trail, and virtually no interest in or aptitude for acquiring the skills and information needed to fulfill the role of president. Here, and this is a quote, here was arguably the central issue of the Trump presidency, Wolf writes. The commander-in-chief didn't process information in any conventional sense, or in a way, he didn't process it at all. That's the quote. So, just so we're clear, folks, an Ivy League graduate of Wharton School of Business, the top business school in the country, possibly the world, a man who's amassed billions of dollars across multiple industries, dealing with big cities, states, countries even, in order to do his job, and has done it successfully. A man who set his sights on the presidency, has been very clear in decades. They've gone back decades to look at Trump. And he has said the same things that he feels today. And they tell you he's an idiot. The guy who trounced Hillary Clinton. The guy who dare put his naughty bits and wriggle them sexually in the face of Barack Obama and taunt him. Teabag the man. And he wins the presidency, and they say he's an idiot. Which in effect says you're an idiot. Because most of you listening to this program voted for him. And many of you who listen to this program, you leftists, you wish you'd voted for him at this point. You won't admit it, but you're here listening for a reason, and it ain't because I'm so cute. So I wonder what he thinks of the man who beat this woman who was ordained, coronated. And we got Hillary Clinton, who sets up a crooked charity, this mafioso racketeering organization, so she can amass an ill-gotten fortune. Hillary Clinton's pedigree, up to the point of being president, was failing the bar in D.C., becoming a cut-rate attorney in Arkansas who defended, a man who raped a young girl, who rode on the coattails of her husband's career, a man for whom she has very little respect, but whom she had already attached her star to. She used her husband's connections to get her jobs, to get money for the family in these crooked dealings with commodities trading and whitewater investments and all kinds of stuff, because she worshiped the almighty dollar and power. Then she uses her husband's career to become a senator in a state where she didn't have residency. She's a junior senator who then goes on the coattails of a black ne'er-do-well by the name of Barack Obama in order to get her next stair step, which is Secretary of State, where she failed miserably. There's nothing Hillary Clinton can point to in her tenure as Secretary of State that would make you go, wow, look at how amazing she was. Everything this woman did was a failure. And I dare any of you suckers out there, you leftists, I dare you to call me and try to debate me on this issue. I will absolutely wipe the floor with your little butt-hocks. But this is the woman that they say was the smartest person in the world, and she deserved to be president. And leftists are unrelenting in furthering their narratives. Let me give you a couple. Here's what USA Today said of Trump. Ill-equipped to be commander-in-chief. Why? Because Trump hadn't gallivanted all over the world pretending to be important because they set up meetings with, general this or commandant that or whatever. Pfft, nonsense. James Clapper said, I really questioned his fitness to be in the office.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Talking about patience. We're talking about getting the right person at the right time, and that's what we did. And the left are now telling us that our guy, our hero, dare I say our superhero, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, is unhinged. He's unfit to be president. Glad you guys are here. kjradio.com is where you can get the show on demand anytime you want, and I hope you will. I left off, I'm talking about this book, Fire and Fury or something like that. This guy Michael Wolff wrote, and it might as well be a work of fiction, to be honest with you, but he claims, I did interviews inside the White House. It is nonsense. It is a lie. This book is drivel, junk. But the left like it because it's in the news cycle and it's taking people's minds off of the real issues, which is all of the suckers that are going to do the perp walk in 2018. And I'm going to talk about that. Be patient. Not only for me to cover it in the show, but what's going to happen in 2018. Many of you are out there going, Kevin, it just isn't going to happen, man. It's too much in the deep state. Too many people, have too much information on other people, blah, blah, blah. There's never going to be this, that, and the other. Yes, there will. You've waited this long to get a president who finally cares about what you think. And some of you on April 15th, when you file your taxes, are going to go, whoa, I got money back. You didn't expect that. You're going to go, whoa, I have insurance where I get to keep my doctor and keep my plan. You didn't expect that. You're going to go, whoa, are you kidding me? My streets are actually getting worked on, and the things that where the money is supposed to be allocated is actually going to that. You're going to watch the debt at some point begin to shrink. You're going to watch the deficit shrink. You're going to watch people go back to work and start enjoying life. And you didn't think all that was going to happen. You didn't think that manufacturing job was coming back to the United States. You thought all these companies that we're talking about leaving or already building their plants in Guadalajara and Guam. No, they're building them here. I just saw a story that said Apple is bringing back $200 billion into the economy. They got more, but they've already started to bring it back. We know they're building manufacturing facilities. I don't need to go through all this stuff. What I'm telling you, folks, is the man who put all that into action, the left tells you he's unhinged, unfit. I said USA Today said he's ill-equipped to be commander-in-chief. James Clapper. This guy was the head of the intelligence agencies. I really question his ability, his fitness to be in his office. Don Lemon, one of the worst anchors on nationwide TV at CNN, says he's unhinged. It's embarrassing. Let me tell you something. Watch Don Lemon's show and tell me if it's embarrassing and if he's unhinged. But here's the deal. Let's run with that narrative. Let's go with it. Because I want you to feel good about this. Because what the left knowingly admit is that the man that they believe is an idiot outperforms the man that they declared the best president ever. I want you to think about that for a second. It would be like you saying, I've got 5 kids, and somebody goes, my kid's smarter than your kids. And you go, really? And so they say, well, if your kids are so smart, let's put them together. And you go, okay, great. I'm going to give you my idiot kid. And then your idiot kid beats them in the spelling bee. and beats him in the math contest or whatever. You get what I'm saying? And you're going, holy cow, that was my idiot. That wasn't even my best kid. Get over here, Sally. Don't even let me sick Sally on you. I don't have any idiot kids. I'm just saying, you know, if you were to do that to your kid, if you measure them, and some of you do know if you have one of those idiot kids. But back to these leftists. So they're admitting that the guy that they think is completely incompetent, and I played a clip from Hannity earlier of all the things that Donald Trump has accomplished. And that's what the idiot did versus Barack Obama. The Dow busted 25,000. It grew by 1,000 faster than any time in history, from 24,000 to 25,000. In fact, when it hit 24,000, you guys remember, I said he might get to 25,000 before the end of the year. Now, we're talking about, you know, you're supposed to be just eking out wins in the Dow right now because it's so high. We went from 24,000 to 25,000, the fastest growth to 1,000 in the history of the Dow. Trump still hasn't completed his first year. Over 2 million jobs created. The December jobs report confirmed that those 2 million jobs were created with 4.1% unemployment. Now, look at Barack Obama. Lost almost 5 million jobs his first year. Year one unemployment rate 11.2%. And while Barack Obama buoyed the Oval Office chair, because he certainly didn't man it, the average duration of unemployment in the United States went from 19.8 weeks to 32.8 weeks. In Obama's last year in office, I've told you this before, he lost 17,000 manufacturing jobs. Trump's first year, he created 171,000 manufacturing jobs, and they haven't finished counting. These are the jobs that their brilliant president said were gone forever. You like the way I said that? Housing values up 6%. That's trillions of dollars in the economy. People can now take loans out on their homes. People are selling their homes, which is your biggest nest egg, and putting them into other things, businesses, things they've always wanted to do, travel. They're recirculating that money into the economy. Under Obama, houses lost value. The housing market is booming. According to Standard & Poor's, U.S. house prices have surged 6.2% from a year ago. Strong demand. Americans looking to buy. That's what I'm telling you. But in contrast, we had the lowest home ownership in America for 7 years in a row under the black dude. Under President Trump, America has a 17-year low food stamp recipient. It's compared to Barack Obama, who we all know, under his leadership, and I'm using my finger quotes, the poverty rate in the United States was at 15% or above for 3 consecutive years from 2009 to 2013. We spent $3.7 trillion on welfare programs, and the number of Americans who were on food stamps went from 32 million to 46 million. I give you Barack Obama. If you want to sum up Obama's economy or his tenure as president in one word, let me help you. Hell. Okay? No matter how you slice it, President Trump achieved rock star status when it comes to his performance, and that's not too bad for a guy that the left wants to convince you is mentally deranged. And you wonder how Democrats can live with themselves. Well, I can tell you that. They redefine stuff. Like illegal immigration is good for the economy. Well, I'm sure Kate Steinle's family believes that. And certainly illegals are propping up California's economy into bankruptcy, right? And what of Muslim terrorists? Don't you feel safer knowing we have jihadist training camps in all 50 states? Because allowing terrorists in via the refugee resettlement program is good for multiculturalism. What are you? Racist? Islamophobic? And then President Trump made the stupid move of making NATO pay for their share of the membership cost to be a member of that organization. He did the same thing to the UN. He says, hey, look, if you're going to take our money, how about you try being effective? And the left look, what are you doing making NATO pay their way, man? I mean, that's being mean-spirited. Dude, you're saying NATO's no good. Yeah, if NATO's not paying its bills, it's no good. It's like a father doesn't pay child support. I'm sorry. You're no good. It's particularly when you have the money. Oh, the United States is doing it. Why should we care? President Trump got China to buy American beef, something they haven't bought for over a decade. He negotiated a massive trade deal that opened the Chinese market to over 183 new products. He went to Saudi Arabia, brought back the largest defense contract, $350 billion. And it wasn't just to feed our defense contractors. It was meant to say to Saudi Arabia, you're going to protect yourself. We're not protecting you anymore. You're going to fight the war on terror. Just think about all the stuff this man's done. Somebody better get this man a doctor, a shrink, because he's mad, baby. He's mad. Consider what the White House press secretary said when she was asked if he was unfit. And Sarah Sanders says he's unfit. He probably wouldn't be sitting there, wouldn't have defeated the most qualified group of candidates the Republican Party has ever seen. This conservative man makes Obama look anemic. Most Americans can hardly wait for the weekend to end so they can watch their stock portfolios grow. Or we're looking for jobs that now exist. Well, we also feel safer, folks. We're back to being Americans again. So how long do you think this is going to last for the left?
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. I want you to be proud of yourselves as you listen to the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. If you want to call us, 844-551-8255. What's that Kevin Jackson talking about? Be proud of yourselves. Be proud of yourselves. Be proud of your patience. See, we could have wanted to speed up everything that's going on right now, but we didn't. We waited it out, and it was tough to do. And I'm not going to tell you we waited it out, easy, because we fought. We fought the good fight. We fought in 2008 when we saw that there was going to be a crook or two crooks that could potentially win, and one crook won, Barack Obama. We posted a meme that showed how these people have enriched themselves since they got into public office. What's the value of Barack Obama now versus when he got into public office, etc. And it's crazy how much money these people are worth. They get into public service to enrich themselves. But you showed patience. Oh, we went after him. But we didn't, there's an old saying, patience is not simply the ability to wait, it's how we behave while we're waiting. Joyce Meyer said that. She's an evangelist. And what we did is we didn't wait and be all mad and say, we're going to go burn stuff down and do Black Lives Matter and Antifa type stuff. We just said, we'll get you next time. Yeah, we'll get you next time. We'll get you at the polls. The left, let me tell you, so many leftists. Look at the antics of Antifa, Black Lives Matter, just the leftists in general, all the shenanigans, the beat up Trump supporters at rallies and all that. They're finding out the truth about it. And they go, I didn't think we behaved that way. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the way your side behaves. And those leftists are now coming over here to the other side, to the good side, to the conservative side. And they're listening to programs like me and they're going, you know what? As much as I'm mad as I used to be that way, that guy's speaking the truth. See, it's not our ability to wait. It's what we did while we waited. We didn't get all crazy. We just said, we'll get you through the system because you know what we do? We work through the system. We believe in it. We believe in law and order. We believe in justice. We believe right will win. And for the record, we're correct. We're right. How's that work out for you? See, the problem with the left, and many of the leftists that listen to my program and that have converted, that are now formerly anti-Trumpers that are saying, well, I'm not anti-Trump. I'm not pro-Trump, but I'm not anti-Trump. See, people are stubborn when they think that they're right about something. Even if it's the wrong thing, they're stubborn. And it takes time for this it's a very human condition to say, wow, I'm wrong, but you can't just immediately, so you get caught at something or somebody says, what about this? And it's a lie. And you go, well, you can't just immediately go, you know what? I lied. I'm bad. I didn't do it. You go, you go off and you stew, and it takes some time. See, there's a waiting period until you catch up with the reality of it. And here's the best question to ask yourself. Is this thing that I'm doing going to get me the result I want? And the answer is no. I could ask any liberal. This thing you're doing, when you think about all this nonsense, let's look at immigration, illegal immigration. What's the end game? If you just let everybody come over here and people decide, okay, I'll get on welfare, I'll burden down the system. What's the end game? Is it good? The answer is no. What's the end game if you let all these Muslim terrorists come over and do what they do? What's the end game? What's the end game if you tax people into oblivion to the point where they go, I ain't working, I'm done with it? Because that's where we were with Barack Obama, Jimmy Carter, all these leftists. But they never are questioning it. But see, there comes a time, a waiting period where it catches up. Generally, it's adulthood. It's when you start paying your taxes and you go, what the huh? Or you pay those parking fees in New York, or some ticket for such and such, or you got to go get a tag on something. You got to deal with the government, or you get a ticket. And it's what? $108. I was 3 miles over the speed limit. And you start wondering, who came up with this number? Why is it $452 if I'm in the HOV lane going by myself? It's all arbitrary. And it's some government bureaucrat going, I don't know, let's do $452 and see what they say. and we pay them outrageous, enormous, exorbitant fees that you would never be. I mean, what does it take to make $500 or $200 to pay a ticket, or $100 for this, or $80 to pay this fee, or whatever? What does it take? Hours of work that no bureaucrat has to do. They just soak it in, bring it to me. It's a cushy job. Buy the book, boom, form. And they don't even have to deal with you as a human being. It's just boom, 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 boom. Just rubber stamp it. You didn't qualify. You do. You don't. You don't. You do. You do. Pay me the money. Pay me the money. And they can be rude. Doesn't even matter. They don't treat you like you're the employer. That's the government we've come to know. I wouldn't say we've come to love, but we've certainly gotten used to it. But see, we were patient. We decided, you know what? Enough is enough. It's time for us to strike back. And we did. And we struck back with all the vengeance of the Lord. I'm just telling you, if you look at this election cycle with Donald Trump and you don't believe in God, man, I seriously, this dude was not supposed to win. Let's be honest about it, right? He wasn't even supposed to get through the Republican primary. And he did. And now we find ourselves all that patience that paid off. St. Augustine said, patience is the companion of wisdom. I'm not going to tell you that we all didn't want to rush it, but we were okay with whatever happened because we just said, we'll bide our time. Something the left can't do. They want what they want when they want it. And now they find themselves having to grow up and be patient. And they're patiently awaiting for 2018. They see that as patience. Let me tell you, 2018, I'm going to save the leftists some trouble. If you want to just pay attention, I'm going to save you some trouble. Don't even fight us. You're going to get crushed. You're going to lose. We're going to get more seats in the Senate. We're going to strengthen the House. And Donald Trump is going to have an economy that you're going to go, holy cow. You won't even realize what to do with yourselves. Your stock portfolio is going to be through the roof. I could go on. And the left is going to say, we're going to fight you. And for the record, when we are done with the people that were cheating us in government and stuff, I'm just telling you, they aren't even going to have a leg to stand on. Short break, folks. Patience.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's Kevin Jackson Show, 844-551-8255. So something really funny happened over. Well, it's not funny. It's somewhat tragic. But anyway, the Clintons' house burned. And I found it interesting timing that two DOJ investigations are happening with the Clintons. One looking into Huma Abedin's emails on her perverted ex-husband's laptop. And I'm talking about top super secret stuff. And the other one, the Clintons Foundation being investigated. Two major things that, by the way, that should have happened during the time of Barack Obama, but he was scandal free. Yeah. So I don't know about you, but when I heard that the Clintons' house burned and I looked at everything that was going on, put it into the big picture perspective, I got a bit conspiratorial. I'll admit it. The thought crossed my mind, what are they hiding? And the reason for that, it comes from a good place. Because I remember when Al Sharpton's office burned, right about the time the IRS was investigating him for non-payment of taxes. And here's what the National Review reported about that at the time. As Al Sharpton ran for mayor of New York City in 1997 and for president in 2003, I can't help but chuckle because Al Sharpton had as much chance of being the mayor of New York or the president of the United States as the next cab driver. I get it. I'm just saying, it was funny. I was having this argument with some black chick. This has been years ago. And she got mad at me. What are you doing denigrating the Reverend Al Sharpton? He is a presidential candidate. And I said to her, I got as many votes as Al Sharpton did. And I didn't have my name on a ballot. I'm just saying, if you're going to be legit, look, I get it. If I filed the fee, whatever the money is, and I could get some people to scrape it together and put myself on and say, Kevin's going to run for president. I could say presidential candidate in the year 2024 or whatever. Why go through the formality? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're Al Sharpton, I could win. Now, I could win. Don't look at me. Don't y'all look at me like I could win. That's why I'm not going to do it, because I might become president. I'm like Trump. What? I won? Oh, shoot. Let's get to work. But I'm saying, if I were a charlatan, a fake, a fraud like Al Sharpton, You have no chance. It's like Jesse Jackson ran for president or whatever. Who cares? Who was the guy? Okay, let me put it to you this way. Who was the person? Name me outside of Bernie Sanders, and maybe I'll give you O'Malley. Who else ran for president on the left against Hillary Clinton? Cheater, crooked Hillary. I can't even remember their names. So there you go. It's as obscure as go ahead and ask me a question about Hollywood or name 10 Justin Bieber songs. I mean, do you really want to test my inability to answer questions? That's it. It's no big deal. But anyway, so Al Sharpton, he had subsequently failed to comply with tax and campaign filing requirements. The first fire began in the early hours of April 10th, 1997, in a hair and nail salon one floor below Sharpton's campaign headquarters at 70 West 125th Street. From the start, investigators deemed the fire suspicious because a heavy volume of fire on arrival and because of many of the doors remained unlocked after hours. They said that's what the New York City Fire Department reported at the time. Then they said as the fire crept upward into Sharpton's headquarters, it destroyed nearly everything, including computers, files, campaign records, and the Reverend spokesperson at the time told Newsday, adding, "We lost our entire Manhattan operation." So when I talk about Hillary Clinton's fire at the house, and considering, let's not forget she keeps her server in the basement bathroom. You just never know. Going back to Sharpton, they said, a source knowledgeable about the investigation said that the place was almost empty and the damage was not that extensive. But the fire did break out at the property of Bill and Hillary Clinton in Chappaqua. They said the flames erupted in a ceiling on the second floor in the Secret Service structure behind the Clintons' home. Said the Clintons were not on property at the time. No injuries reported. They said the fire was maintained on the property. Didn't go anywhere else, thankfully. And I question, were any servers burned? Can't go letting the Justice Department look at any potential emails from the Clinton Foundation. So, again, I get the people. Come on, Kevin. How do you know? This is the news telling us what happened. This isn't somebody from one of the conservative outlets on scene saying, yeah, I saw it. It was no big deal. It didn't burn. No computers touched, Kevin. No beach blit. Was it bleach bit? Whatever. No servers busted in the creation of this fire. And fires happen. But I did wonder. I'm not going to tell you. The Crooked Clinton Foundation could have lost a lot of information in that fire. Is there any video of this fire? One has to imagine that the Clintons have plenty of security footage, surveillance, etc. We're going to learn that some masked man that looked like Eric Holder was seen fleeing the scene. The possibilities around this fire are endless. And here's the thing. I'm telling you, they have information. They could say, let's just shut Kevin Jackson up. That radio dude, shameless plug, kjradio.com. He is constantly providing us, giving out these crazy ideas. But we know the lengths the Clintons will go to cover their tracks. I just learned the other day, I was on Fox, and they said there's a statute of limitations on going after the Clintons for the shenanigans of the Clinton Foundation, and that limitation is 5 years, which conveniently expire in 2018. And then The Hill said this about the investigation in the Clinton. They said they've launched this new inquiry into whether the Clinton Foundation engaged in any pay-to-play politics or illegal activities while Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State. FBI agents from Little Rock, where the foundation started, have taken the lead in the investigation and have interviewed at least one witness. Officials who spoke on a condition of anonymity said the probe is examining whether the Clintons promised or performed any policy favors in return for largesse to their charitable efforts, or whether donors made commitments of donations in hope of securing government outcomes. And we know the answer to that. Of course they did. But I'm sure this is just a fire. I'm sure there is no conspiracy surrounding this fire. It's just a regular old fire at a house like anybody else's. But I'll also tell you this. When it comes to the Clintons, their crooked Clinton Foundation, and what they've done as part of the Obama administration, where there's smoke, there's fire. We'll be back. Be patient, okay?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. So I was talking to some members of my writing team, and I was like, they're like, man, Kev's kind of a slow news day. And I'm like, that's nonsense. I agree there are days that are, there's more news than other days. But we got 7.5 billion people in the world. There's a lot of news going on. And you just have to find it. And sometimes you find it in the strangest places. And it isn't just this in your face, like the FBI is now opening an investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Okay, that's news. Woo! I hope I break that first, right? But that's okay. I get it. That doesn't happen every day. But what's interesting about what I do for a living and what my team does when we're discerning information is when you can take something and go, boy, that's a great metaphor for such and such. And we have such a story. I titled a piece that we wrote about this, What Democrats and Dying Dogs Have in Common. Because this story reminded me of Democrats guarding the carcasses of their most wretched people. Obama's carcass, Hillary Clinton's carcass, and other carcasses to be named later. And you're going, Kevin, what are you talking about, man? You're talking of all these carcasses. It's rather morbid, your radio show. He don't know what he's talking about. He just over there talking a bunch of stuff. He don't know nothing about me. So what, I made $60 million while I was president. Anyway, the Democrats are going down, and they go down with the ship, period. That's what this is about. Look, I'm not telling you as conservatives we should go down with the ship. No matter what somebody does, we got to stick with them. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm telling you is we have flawed people on our side. And what happens with us, if somebody goes, I guarantee you, there were people when they were talking about this, Kevin Jackson said the FBI can assassinate Donald Trump, which I didn't say that. But there were people who went, oh my gosh, I can't do nothing with Kevin. I can't fool with him. That's what we say in the vernacular. I can't fool with him. But they couldn't fool with me because I got tainted with the scarlet letter. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Here's my attitude. Go. Because a lot of y'all still fool with me. Just don't diddle with me, but you can fool with me. But that's what the left tries to do. And what's funny about the right is we're quick to go. Oh, that Kevin Jackson's a conspiracy theorist. He's like Alex Jones. I don't want to be tainted by the Alex Jones things. Boom, you're gone. For you that are still here, we can chuckle about it. But trust me, there were people that were gone. One of my radio show place where I do a weekly hit on the show, he called me before the show and says, hey, Kevin, is it okay if we talk about this? I'm like, yeah. He's worried, like people might leave you. And I said, no, I'm happy to discuss it. Again, he's concerned because you know what? On the right, we leave quickly. Oh my gosh, that Kevin Jackson, he's tainted. I ain't tainted. But anyway, this story reminds me. So if there was ever a time for Democrats to abandon the party, hey, Democrats, is this on? That time is now. But as this story suggests, Democrats would rather die than leave the dead carcasses of criminal Democrats. Now, you're still going, Kevin, what are you talking about? A dog was rescued by Animal Protective Services in Hungary after being found lying alongside the body of his dead owner, a woman, who had died weeks before. The 9-year-old Havanese was named Jaja and was severely dehydrated when she was found in the Budapest apartment. But now the dog's recovering. Now, the dog had a little bit of dry food to eat, but doctors said she would have died within a day or so if she hadn't been found. And, as I said earlier, the owner had died weeks before. I don't know who lived next to this woman. I don't know what the smell is in Budapest, but holy cow, the smell of death is universal, and it's nasty. They said, I'm just trying to picture this scenario of this dog. Look, I get it. The dog loved its owner, and it's like, but what a metaphor for Democrats. And here's the other thing about this. The lady who died, she probably told her friends, no, I feel good. I don't know how to speak Hungarian, but she's like, yeah, I feel very good. No, everything is fine. And then she goes home, she dies. Metaphor for Democrats, just like the Democrats. Think of the fake news optimism that the Democrats profess. Like leftist Fox News anchor Chris Wallace. I know y'all think, oh, Chris is. What are you talking about? Chris Wallace is a lefty, Kevin. He's on Fox. Chris Wallace is a lefty. Yeah. So I remember I wrote a piece about this because Chris Wallace said the Republicans are going to lose 40 seats, and I said the left brag about the thing that they fear. He said he was on Shepard Smith reporting. And he said this fake news narrative of doom and gloom for the 2018 elections. And I'm telling you guys right now, just like I predicted Donald Trump would win, you don't need to worry about 2018. If you want to worry about something, I don't worry about, is your car going to break down in a month or you need new tires or whatever? I don't know. But you don't need to worry about the 2018 elections except to participate. That's all you got to worry about. But here's what Chris Wallace says. You see a very energized Democratic base, especially among young suburban women, young people, and minorities. What? We talked about this the other day, and I read that quote and said, what is Chris Wallace talking about? An energized base among suburban women, young people, and minorities. Tell me anything that has energized this base. Anything outside of Donald Trump. Wishful thinking. Fox News reports this nonsense, and they say that the Democrats think they're going to be able to take back the House. It's in jeopardy. They may get both. Okay. Unless the cheating mechanism works better than it has before, there's no way that's going to happen. And then the Observer, this other leftist, he said the same thing. He said 6 months ago, Democrats were cautious in their optimism. They talked a lot about a strong 2018 that might chip away at the GOP's majority in Congress. But after winning a pair of governor's races, more than a dozen state legislative contests, and a shock Senate seat in a deep red state over the last month, they're no longer holding back. Republicans are going to need to appreciate this wasn't all about Roy Moore and sexual assault, said J.B. Porsche, president of the Democrat-aligned Senate Majority PAC. This is a bigger issue. And I don't know if we did a story on the show about this sexual harassment nonsense that just went kaput. The Democrats were betting on the sexual harassment thing. They were positioning Kirsten Hildebrand to be the Pied Piper of women, the new women's movement and all that. Where's it at? All the people that were accusing Donald Trump. The Democrats got the dying dog blues. And it's not Hillary Clinton that's the only one that's in trouble. It's the entirety of the Democrat leadership team. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is going to be in the hot seat over the Awan brothers and this whole IT scandal. That's not going away. Susan Rice is going to find herself in big trouble over the FISA court authorizations. James Comey, and I said this and I predicted this before and I'll say it again. Barack Obama is going to be the biggest casualty of 2018. Let's just call him the dark horse. You think about this. Not long ago, liberals were laughing over Donald Trump's claim that Obama had wiretapped him throughout the election. And we finally get confirmation that this is really true. Obama did wiretap Trump with these FISA court things. And if you think that's gone away, you're wrong. Donald Trump will bring it up at the right time, just like he's done most. He's figured out how to time these cycles to where it makes sense. 2018 is a bad year for the left. But I want to go back to this dying dog. It said police opened up the flat after neighbors reported that they hadn't seen this elderly woman for some time. She was 66 years old or something. That's not elderly. That's young in today's time, maybe not in Hungary. The dog was lying next to the dead body, was so weak it couldn't stand. We had to drag her away. He said many dogs would have died after such a trauma. But yesterday, she said she was on her feet, wagging her tail. And I come back to this Democrat, conundrum, this an analogy or metaphor. It's a metaphor. I got it right eventually. The Democrats are sitting next to that dead body, just not wanting to leave. And then Donald Trump comes in, drags them away, says, look, you're going to die here if you stay. He drug a lot of rhinos. Rhinos fit the same bill if you want to use the same metaphor. And then he fed it, and the dog is up wagging its tail. Now, here's what I'll tell you, what I know about dogs and animals and human nature and all the other things that fit here. The dog is gone from that owner. It's ready for the next owner. Donald Trump.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. I got a listener. Why didn't you guys give me his name? I don't have his name here, but here's what he wrote. He says, Kevin, I enjoy reading your articles, especially the tongue-in-cheek humor and subtle sarcasm in describing current political subjects. I believe the real reason Mueller was used to help control the damage to the Clinton cartel was to help control the damage to the Clinton cartel. By whatever means possible, he will help them weasel their way out of the current wedgies and avoid the tsunami of negative public perception coming their way if their crimes are not papered over. I have an extremely hard time believing the Clintons are going to prison. I would love to see it, but believe they are more than slippery than most people believe, and with the backing of Soros's money, it appears they are able to escape almost any arrows. Some of their low-level grunts may get time, but Bill and Hill will slither their way out. I think Mueller is there to create diversion while they destroy evidence and otherwise obfuscate their way to walking free. Maybe I've lost faith in justice by this government or nation, seeing too much blatant injustice. I doubt it happens, but if by some miracle it does, then your statement is in another article, Obama, Dems' biggest casualty in 2018, which states, in the end, as with illegals, Muslim refugees, tax cuts, Obamacare, and about everything else, Trump will be vindicated, will have made it sound as easy as you suggested. I will certainly rejoice with many fellow Americans. I appreciate the reporting you do. Keep on trucking. All right. Well, I appreciate that. I wish we had gotten your name. And God, I did a horrible reading of that. I read like I had a government education, and then the crime, and then this. I read that horribly, didn't I? I mean, but look, okay, first of all, the print on this is a freaking eye chart. So I'm talking about the bottom, like copyright 2017 Bosch and Lomb. Why in the heck did y'all? I know I can blow it up. No, look, you play. I don't make me call you out on national radio. I'll do it. Anyway, I'm glad. Thank you for the note. If whoever you are, I know you also said something about listening to. I know that sounds like you're just a reader, but you are listening to the show. I got other people that new folks. You know, ladies are the ones that seem to write to me or do more often. And hey, I don't blame you, ladies. But this was a guy. I know this was a guy, but for whatever reason, a lot of ladies are like, "Hey, Kevin, love your show." This, that, and the other. Let's do a couple of callers that called in and left messages for various reasons. I'm gonna get this stuff out. Here's one. What was she talking about? Oh, this lady calls me a lot. She's a Native American. She's Indian, like I am. Even though my ancestry only gave me like less than 1% Native American. That's a lie, because my great-grandmother was 50% Navajo, and my grandfather on my mother's side was 50% Indian. I forget what kind, but he's 50%. And I have the reservation records and all that stuff. But for whatever reason, my DNA came back. One of the guys that wrote to me, and we should find his letter. He chuckled at me and said, "Kevin, you're 21% white," because I gave out my ancestry the other day on the radio. But anyway, here's a caller, and she calls me quite often, and she wants to talk about O'Reilly coming back to Fox.
Yes, this is my comment. I'm listening to Marie Harf, whatever her name is. You know what she reminds me of? And don't take, if you can't put this on, it's okay. She reminds me of a white Susan Rice. And what's his name? Juan Williams reminds me of Black Beckel. And so does the Fowler dude. I don't even remember his first name. Richard Fowler. They're so phony. I mean, no matter what you tell them and show them, they still say, no, that's not the way it is. They're knuckleheads, stupid people. I don't listen. I mean, when they come on, I change the TV. I won't even look at that. And why is Geraldo still on? Bring back O'Reilly and everybody else. I mean, he's still there with all of the stuff that goes on with them women, with showing all their legs and everything. I mean, come on. What was it all about? What was their point? Bring him back. I like to listen to O'Reilly. Couldn't be any worse. I mean, couldn't be as worse as Clinton or Lowry locking the door from his desk. Dangerous. Thank you. Bye. Love your show.
So thanks for the call. Good questions, by the way. Why is Geraldo still on? As far as O'Reilly goes, look, I think there could be – I don't think Fox will bring him back because there'd be so much controversy over them bringing him back and effectively saying we condone whatever may or may not have happened. That ship has sailed. But it could be – in theory, it's a good strategic move. As far as like – believe me, I get so much mail – when I'm on Outnumbered, like with Marie Harf, they go, "Kevin, I'm sorry. I love you, man. I want to watch Outnumbered, but I just can't stand Marie." Or they say, "I turn you on," and then when she starts talking, I turn it off. And to be honest with you, I say leave it on because you get the chance to see her in all her glory, which is, of course, none. But you get to see the other side, how silly the argument is, how specious the things that, how they base arguments. It's just crazy to me. But that to me is the fun part of what I do. Anyway, here's another lady. She called and she talked about the Clintons, what Comey had to do with the Clintons and the taxes and all that. So we'll listen to her.
Hi, I was listening to your show today. It's January the 5th, and you were saying that the Comey's brother, in some of the things he did with Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, he also did their taxes, I believe, if I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure that was reported, that he also did the Clintons' taxes, Comey's brother. So great show. Like listening to you, and carry on. Bye.
All right. Glad she was able to enlighten us on that. I believe I did know that Comey's brother did represent the Clintons and all that. But you know what? I'm just glad you guys are out there listening. It isn't, I tell people this all the time. I'm not trying to be O'Reilly. We're 100%. You people are bright. You're smart. Your comments on my blogs, your comments on the show are amazing. So call us, 844-551-8255. I encourage you to do it. I promise you this. I listen to every message. I do. And so, or whether you write it, you call us or whatever, and we'll get you on the show. If you want to be on the show, let us know. We'll get you on the show. So here's a couple of other ones. A guy says to me, Kevin, you truly have your excrement together. High intellectual horsepower. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Hope 2018 is a great year for you. With admiration and respect, or respect and admiration, Tom. I won't say your full name, Tom, but you are out of Utah. Then we had a person contact me, says he's a cop in St. Louis. His name is John. Says, city is forcing us to go to a seminar called Unconscious Bias Training. Obviously another leftist program designed to show us we are racist, sexist, homophobic, intolerant, even if we consciously know we are not. And John, he listens to me in St. Louis. Help is on the way, bro. We got a movie coming out, Bleeding Blue. Go to bleedingbluemovie.com. It's about to be updated to give you guys the release dates. If you want to sponsor one of the dates that we release, one of the theaters where we're going to be releasing the show, contact me, kjradio.com. Let's see. Oh, here's one of my favorites. This is a guy, he's out of Israel. Greetings from Israel. Really enjoy your show. Mr. Jackson, I was a dedicated Jerry Doyle listener for years until his death. I listened to American talk radio while I work in my home law office in Haifa, Israel. Israeli talk radio is horrible. I've been in radio limbo for a year trying to find a replacement. I've been bouncing back and forth between Dennis Prager, Ben Shapiro, and Mark Levin. Hey, all three Jews. Dennis has stupid topic hours that make me turn it off. Ben is all over the board with his commentary, and Levin's voice grates on my nerves and can't take him for more than 15 minutes. A friend recommended your show. Thank that person. And I've listened to a few podcasts. So he's liking the show. He didn't say he loved it, but he said he's listened to some podcasts. So anyway, hey, thank you in Israel. I will be in Israel sometime this year. So maybe we can, have some whatever they drink in Israel, and talking, a little bit of Yiddish. Oy vey, that's all I know. But no, I'd love to hang out with you when I'm in Israel. Here's a guy, Gary. Found your show while I was passing through Salem. Very entertaining. Thanks for making me smile. Look, guys, I don't make you smile. You make me smile. I love what I do because it's education and information, and we try to have a little bit of fun at it. But it's serious underneath, and you make me want to do it every single day.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. kjradio.com is where you can find out more about me and the team, and you can get us on demand anytime you want. Let people know if you like the show. Share it. Tell your friends, your family, send them emails. Go get the clips that we break the show apart in bite-sized chunks, full show or individual segments. You don't have to go more than 10 minutes of this show, and I'm going to make you a bet. If you send one of our segments to one of your friends, if they're not hooked within 5 minutes, they're brain dead morons. No, I'm kidding. We just aren't for them. But you will be, because not only are we going to impart some knowledge on you, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Now, today's theme is patience. Patience is a virtue you've probably heard growing up. But there was a gentleman, his name was Saidi, and he says, have patience. All things are difficult before they become easy. This is what I preach to people. I preach to anybody. If you're going to start something, it's going to take you 2 years to become good at it. I'm talking about doing it every day. 2 years. If I teach you how to throw a punch, it's going to look awkward. You're going to be, and it's not going to have any impact. But if you practice throwing that punch for 2 years, multiple times every day, say you threw that punch 100 times every day for 2 years, both hands, you're going to throw that punch with an efficiency, because if you throw it right, because I've taught many people, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Yeah, I'll get that out. You try it. So patience, yes, it's bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Genius is patient, said Sir Isaac Newton. And let me tell you what you did. You exercised patience. We got exactly what we want. And now it is time to put your foot on the accelerator. Push that throttle down. I wanted to talk about in this hour about a guy who wrote an opinion piece. He's a lefty, writes for the New York Times. And essentially the premise was why 2017 was the best year in human history. And he says, we all know that the world is going to hell. Given the rising risk of nuclear war with North Korea, the paralysis in Congress, warfare in Yemen and Syria, atrocities in Myanmar, and a president who may be going cuckoo, you might think 2017 was the worst year ever. Hold on just a second there, Kimosabi. No, I believe it was the best year ever. Because what he just described is the world that Barack Obama handed over to President Donald Trump. Now, I don't know if we talked about it much, but, well, we did talk about the first hour about Trump is supposedly unhinged, but I couldn't cover enough how the left wants you to believe that he's losing it. And, of course, my contention is our president, who may if you want to claim that he's got some form of dementia, it's really amazing how much better he is with dementia than your president is when you say he's got all the perks, right? Barack Obama had it all. And supposedly our guy, who's a dummy, a graduate of Wharton, who's a billionaire, our dummy is certainly outperforming theirs. But he goes on to say, finally, you'd be wrong. 2017 was probably the very best year in the long history of humanity. And what's interesting about this is, yet again, another stupid, lame-brained, moronic leftist is telling you the truth about 2017, but he doesn't want to tell you it's Trump who's leading this cause. He says a smaller share of the world's people were hungry, impoverished, or illiterate than at any time before. A smaller population of children died than ever before. The proportion disfigured by leprosy, blinded by diseases like trachoma, or suffering from other ailments also fell. Do you think that stuff fell by accident? It fell because as the U.S. goes, the world goes. The world is benefiting from what you did, folks, the patience you exercised by saying, you know what, we got to endure another 4 years of Obama in 2012. We endured 8 years of the worst president in history. We were long suffering, but it paid off. He says we need some perspective as we watch the circus in Washington hand over our mouths in horror. We journalists focus on bad news. We cover planes that crash, not those that take off, but the backdrop of global progress may be the most important development of our lifetime. No truer words can be spoken. Donald Trump has made the world much safer. And this moron doesn't even recognize it. What a fool. And he's somebody that people rely on, that they look to his commentary for him to say, oh, well, this is a great opinion. This is coming from the New York Times. Every day, he says, the number of people living in extreme poverty, less than about $2 a day, goes down by 217,000. These are calculations by Oxford economists. And he says, every day, 325,000 more people gain access to electricity and 300,000 more people gain access to clean water. Let me tell you who's paying for that. You are. You're the ones paying for that. All those dollars that we send to these impoverished countries, you're the reason. And let me tell you what Donald Trump is going to do. And I'm just telling you how this man looks at the world. He sees it as, if you take a country like North Korea, that's making nothing. It's doing nothing. There's nothing it brings to the world, but it has natural resources. Not only the natural resources of its people, it has the natural resources of its geography. If you take those natural resources and you get those people working together, if you were to get their GDP humming, it makes for a bigger pie. He doesn't see them as competition to America. He sees them as adding to the pie. What leftists see is they see a pie that's a particular size. It cannot be bigger. And they say, if the United States takes a bigger slice of the pie, then somebody gets hurt. And if you believe in that concept that the pie is one size, then you're right. But if you believe that everywhere in the world there's something to be offered to the world, you increase the GDP of the world. Imagine if everybody grew twice. We doubled the size of our GDPs, and put emphasis on these poorer countries where we establish decent GDPs. Right now, there are countries that are rounding errors in terms of their GDPs in our budget. That's unfair, but it isn't our fault. It's the fault of the people in charge of them, and it's the fault of leftism. It's the fault of these communists, these fascists, these socialists who believe these policies work, and they never do. When we come back, I want to go more into detail around what this guy's talking about, because what's so cool about it is he's defining all the ripple effect, if you will, of the election of Donald Trump and how the world is improving without wanting to recognize where it comes from. I'd love him to say, oh yeah, this is Barack Obama's policies. He couldn't say that with a straight face.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. We're talking about patience. Were you patient? Were you waiting? Huh? How much time passed? I don't know. 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Isn't that what Chuck Wooler used to say? We'll be back in 2 and 2. When he did the love connection. Well, we have a love connection. I don't know how many commercials run. I don't care about that stuff. I don't care who makes money on the show. I'm happy my affiliates do. I say I don't care. I care that the people that support the show get paid. But, I'm just happy to be doing this. Anyway, we're talking about a guy who wrote a piece for the New York Times. And he said 2017 was maybe the best year in human history. But he doesn't want to give Donald Trump credit. In fact, he's sort of, and I'd really backhanded. You can tell he's a leftist. But he's giving you stats and things that are improving around the world and will continue to get better because Donald Trump sees the world through a different vision of everybody else. When Donald Trump goes to build a resort in some country, he's not thinking this is only for the elites. He's hoping everybody participates in it. This is a guy who's been to practically every continent and done some form of work there and looks at the world through a different set of eyes and sees this big pie. I'll tell you something. If you ever go to China, if you ever get the opportunity, and you can see a city spring up, and it's got 500,000 people, and that's a little city. I lived in St. Louis, 318,000, and they think of themselves as Chicago. China has a 500,000 person population city. It's under development. It's like a village. They don't even think of that as a big city. They're looking 20 years into the future at hydro dams and all kinds of, green energy projects and things that are going to keep that city sprawling. They're looking at infrastructure and, pouring concrete and putting up buildings and trying to figure out where they're going to put all these folks. That's what they're doing. You get a city there that's got a couple million people. That's finally getting to the size of being, a town. These cities are growing like crazy. Think about it. 1.5 billion people. The Chinese or something like that. It's close to that. And now they've gotten rid of their one child policy. They're anticipating an explosion. So you look at what's going on in these places and you see that the pie is getting larger. And here's Donald Trump. He's saying, okay, open up your markets to us so we can reach more of your people. And China just recently said, you know what? We're going to unban 183 products. Now, that wasn't just for America. Every country in the world can now ship those products to China. That's what's so cool about all of this. And so this pie is expanding. Anyway, this guy, he goes on, he says, readers often assume that because I cover war, poverty, and human rights abuses, I must be gloomy and Eeyore with a pen. But I'm actually upbeat because I've witnessed transformational change. As recently as the 1960s, the majority of humans have always been illiterate and lived in extreme poverty. Now fewer than 15% are illiterate. Fewer than 10% live in extreme poverty. In another 15 years, illiteracy and extreme poverty will be mostly gone. After thousands of years of a generation, they're pretty much disappearing on our watch. Well, I'd ask you this. Do you think that they would have disappeared faster under Obama? Or do you think they disappear faster under Trump? Because Obama just says, let's go throw some money at Bangladesh or throw some money at Pakistan or whatever. And Donald Trump says, no, if you want our money, you're going to adapt to our way of life. Who's more civilized, us or Pakistan? Us or Bangladesh? Us or deep, dark Africa? Name me where it's more civilized. This is one of my big complaints. Every time they talk about multiculturalism, it isn't a movement of whites into Africa or into the Middle East or into the Central America. It's movement of those people into white countries as if the white countries have done something so bad to them. White people are not the majority of the people in the world. I know people find that hard to believe, but they're not. Brown and Asian people, yellow, brown and yellow are the majority of people in the world. You don't see people going, let's bring a bunch of Asians into Africa. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Idi Amin kicked Asians out of Africa. He kicked out Indians, East Indians, from India. So don't talk to me about, multiculturalization and all this nonsense. All these gains that are being done, they're not coming out of these countries. They're coming out of the countries like the UK, Canada, America, Scandinavia. Now, I'm not trying to be all white-centric. I'm just telling you the facts. So, get over yourselves. Anyway, he says, just since 1990, the lives of more than 100 million children have been saved by vaccinations, diarrhea treatment, breastfeeding promotion, and simple steps. Steven Pinker, Harvard psychology professor, explores the gains in his terrific book. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm not promoting any of these guys. But here's what he goes on to say. President Trump rode this gloom into the White House. The idea, make America great again, professes a nostalgia for a lost Eden. But really, if that was, say, the 1950s, the U.S. also had segregation, polio, bans on interracial marriage, gay sex, and birth control. So see, I'm going to stop it there. This is where I want to take a guy like him and put my fingers around his neck and say, you're an idiot, because he is an idiot. This is a guy that wants you to think that he wants to go back. Let me tell you what I'll be happy to go back to. I'd love to go back to the 1950s black family. Do I want to go back into segregation and all that? Heck no. And we never will. He knows this. Everything he's described has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has no problem with segregation. I'm saying he's not a segregationist. Donald Trump's not looking to take people back to where polio was a big deal. He certainly doesn't ban interracial marriage. He has no problem with gay sex. He has no problem with birth control, other than, why should you want me to pay for it? None of this has anything to do with him. But he puts it in. He wrote this in, and now he wants to take us back to there. That's the type of logic these people use. And then he goes on to say, what moment in history would you prefer to live in? Really? Let me finish what he said earlier. He says, most of the people in the 1950s lived under dictatorship. 2/3 of parents had a child die before the age of 5. It was a time of nuclear standoffs, pea soup smog, of frequent wars, of stifling limits on women, and of the worst famine in history. That's what he says. And he alludes that Donald Trump wants to go back to that. Yeah, the guy that's bringing prosperity into middle America like we haven't seen in decades. He says, F. Scott Fitzgerald said the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two contradictory thoughts at the same time. I suggest these. The world is registering important progress, but it also faces mortal threats. The first belief should empower us to act on the second. We did. We acted on the second. We got rid of the guy who proceeded over the worst economic conditions in American history. If it weren't for the fact of you folks and people like me working our butts off to save Barack Obama's butt, we would have been in a big depression. And he's made the most unsafe world in the history of man. And this guy wants to actually complain and act as if Donald Trump's the problem. This is what we face on the left, folks, and why you listen to me and why we fight them so hard.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com, 844-551-8255. And I was reading an opinion piece from the New York Times, and the guy said 2017 was the best year in history, human history. He talked about the lessening of famine, the lessening of disease, people living longer, the number of fewer people living in poverty, and so on and so forth. And then he says, but we live in these highly charged political times where we've got a zealot, a crazy man in office, and pretending that he can't credit Donald Trump for this. That's like saying, oh, you know what, this crazy stock market that's going through the roof, this consumer confidence that's going through the roof, this unemployment number that's dropping to levels that practically make it to where we have full employment in America, and all the exuberance of the economy, all the world affairs where North Korea is now reaching out to South Korea. The eagle flies with the dove, and you can be with the one you love, then love the one you're with. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to say none of that's credited to Donald Trump. That's ridiculous. There are countries rethinking the way they are going to market. And that's what countries do, believe it or not. They go to market. They're rethinking how they go to market because of Donald Trump. I don't want to focus too much more on what this guy said because he's an idiot. But what he did say was the world is a better place in 2017, the best year ever. He didn't write this in 2016. He didn't even allude that 2017 was the greatest year in human history because of the context of Barack Obama. He couldn't even say that. But what I can tell you is what we do in America influences the world, and what you did on November 8th of 2016 is what's having the impact in the world that is a positive thing. You are lessening all these things. Poverty, providing internet, making people, getting people able to read and things like this. And what's funny, while the world is improving in terms of its ability to read and impoverishment and things like this, we're actually going backwards in the United States. We were up until 2016. And leftist policies had us regressing. Kids going hungry, kids who can't read, kids who have no hope. And the only difference between those kids and these kids in third world nations was we did manage to keep their bellies fed and a roof over their heads. But in some cases, they're no better off. Emotionally, they're no better off. That's certainly a truth. I love this part in his article. He says, I had a visit from Sultana, a young Afghan woman from the Taliban heartland. She had been forced to drop out of elementary school, but her home had internet. So she taught herself English, then algebra and calculus with the help of the Khan Academy, Coursera, and EDX websites. Without leaving her house, she moved on to physics and string theory, wrestled with Kant, and read the New York Times on the side, and began emailing a distinguished American astrophysicist, Lawrence Krauss. He says, I wrote about Sultana in 2016. With the help of Professor Krauss and my readers, she's now studying at Arizona State University, taking graduate classes. Now, here's what he doesn't recognize. Barack Obama didn't free her. Neither did Donald Trump, just for the record. It was conservative principles that freed this girl. And what's interesting about that concept is this guy and other leftists won't even recognize that. I remember when we went into Iraq, and all the leftists were like, George Bush is in Iraq and all this. And the first two female graduates in the history, not the history, but in the modern history of Iraq, had graduated college, I believe in the United States or maybe in Iraq. But they graduated, and they did a profile on these two women. And the left poo-pooed on it, saying, oh, he went to war for blood, war for oil, whatever. And I'm thinking, you just witnessed George Bush freeing Iraqi women to the point where the first two in modern history had graduated from college. And all the left can do is complain. That's how they are. I mean, when do you catch a break with these clowns? He says he wrote about Sultana, and she reminded him of an aphorism that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. The meaning of global progress is that such talent increasingly can flourish. Let me tell you, no truer words could be spoken. The fact that the United States exports freedom now, it exports optimism, is the greatest gift that we give to the world. And the stories that will come out of the freeing of these people, when Donald Trump starts tackling things like sex trafficking and some of these other issues that have laid dormant for so long, you'll start seeing the world open itself up. That's what we're looking for, folks. We think we've implemented patience, that we've given ourselves patience to wait on a Donald Trump. What do you think these Afghani women have waited on? What do you think these Iraqi women wait on? What do you think Middle Eastern women have waited on in general? What do you think the world has waited for? You think they've wanted to live under socialism? That they've wanted to live under communism? That they've wanted to live under Marxist rule? That they've wanted to be ruled by dictators? Elitists, global elitists who set these crazy ideas in motion to do nothing except allow them to profiteer? Do you think that's what the whole world wants to be? When you're living on $2, I heard half the world lives on less than $3.50 a day. Do you think that Donald Trump would tolerate that from this world? Do you? No, because we've donated. We've given money. But you know what? It's been squandered. We haven't cared about, are these people taking the money and doing something good with it? No, it's third world dictators, the elites playing games with their money, parking their money in big banks, but pretending that they're donating to different foundations, all for the good of a few people, a handful of people in every single country, including this one. Don't believe them for a second, folks. And what's funny is they bury all this so-called philanthropic stuff that the left claims they want to do. They bury it in nonsense. Oh, the war on women, or the war on drugs, or the war on this. The wars that are being fought there's one war that's constantly being fought. It's the war on the American taxpayer. And that tends to be the war on conservatives, which by default means it's the war on Judeo-Christian values. That's the war that's constantly being fought. And it's being fought in the most crazy ways. And I'll give you an example. I saw a story that said, cupcakes oppress women. You heard me right. Cupcakes. And here was the abstract from that theory, okay? Although food and media scholars have studied gendered performances on cooking shows, limited scholarship exists on shows that combine food preparation with business ownership. My study, a textual analysis of DC Cupcakes and Cupcake Girls, seeks to fill that gap, pointing to issues of gender representation that are complicated by taking on the dual roles of chef or baker and business owner. I argue that these two shows reinforce heteronormative stereotypes and gender polarization by reproducing negative relationships between women and food, and by constructing women as incompetent business people. Additionally, I suggest that because these women are shown as business owners instead of just home cooks, such portrayals could potentially disrupt the dominant, often essentialist ideas about men and women on food television. Instead, however, these shows, as part of the wider cultural cupcake phenomena, resort to stereotypical portrayals of women and help cultivate their at times oppressive relationships with food. That's the abstract. Well, let me give you the other side of the argument. When I was little, a cupcake was pennies on the dollar. Now you will pay $10 for a cupcake. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I can go to the supermarket, and I can buy practically any cake that I want for $10, certainly half a cake. Now you can't get a cupcake at a cupcake shop. And go look at the places that there's cupcake shops all over the place. And you know who's responsible for these cupcake shops? Women. I'm not trying to get all mad at you, but women are responsible for this. You have driven up the price of a cupcake, which is, by the way, a subset of a cake. You've driven the price up to crazy prices. It's like get a big bag of Doritos, and then you go get the little bag, and the little bag by volume has like 1/20th, but it's half the price of a big bag. That's where we are with cupcakes. But this guy wants to do an abstract between two shows, DC Cupcakes and Cupcake Girls, in order to explain the complicated analysis of the dual role when someone is more than just a baker, but not only the baker, but also the business owner. And how it's some sort of heteronormative stereotype, gender dysmorphia, if you will, of women when they can't be good business owners and make their delicious cupcakes.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, buttercups? Kevin Jackson here. It's Kevin Jackson Show, kjradio.com. I know you're not buttercups. I know you're toughies. You're warriors now. You're being honed into such, and that's a good thing. Let's talk a little bit about this attack on President Donald Trump. And it's funny how things so backfire on the left. I don't know if you saw this interview Jake Tapper did with the guy's name is Robert something. Anyway, he was hired by Corey Lewandowski to work on the Trump campaign in January of 2016. And he's defending Trump and the fake news narrative of this book that came out called Fire and Fury. And we talked a little bit about it. I didn't delve into the author too much. But I can tell you this, it's a fictional book. And leftists salivate over this book. The guy who wrote his name is Michael Wolff. It's an anti-Trump book. And apparently the book is acting as salve for these unhealed bruises from November 8th of 2016. And this guy just goes on and he excoriates Jake Tapper. And Tapper, instead of being a good journalist and just taking the hits, I know it's sad when CNN doesn't want to be called fake news and Tapper's going back at whatever this guy's name, and I apologize for not remembering his name, but you'd know him if you saw him. And anyway, he's going after him, and the guy's like, look, let me just stop you here. And he's just explaining Donald Trump and the phenomena around him, and he uses the term genius. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I want you to start calling Trump a genius. Not whether you believe he is or not isn't even the point. I think he is. I think Donald Trump, what he's managed to do is genius politically and from a marketing perspective. What have I told people? Now I'm getting to my producers here because they know me pretty well. I'm saying, what have I told people about the ability to what the conservative movement is needed is a person who's willing to go out there and handle marketing. That's what I said. I said, we don't know how to market ourselves. We run from stuff that we shouldn't run from. We don't respond back when it's an obvious. The answer is obvious when you talk about illegal immigration, or you talk about trade policy, or you talk about foreign policy as it relates to how do you handle North Korea. We're the biggest dude, that we're the baddest guy in the play yard. I mean, just putting it this way, we're the 6-foot fifth grader whose dad is a mixed martial artist, the baddest guy on the planet, and he's trained his son since he was 4 years old. The kid's been involved in martial arts since he could walk. And some little punky third grader named Michael Moore or Kim Jong-un or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, name who you want, comes up and picks on him. And everybody expects him to turn you, I'm just saying what I should do. I don't know. And Trump says, give me my hammer, Thor. Pummels him and hands the hammer back to Thor and say, thanks for letting me borrow that for a second. That's what he does. And that's what you should do. And it cracks me up that the left seem to want us to turn the other cheek, and we pretend that we're not the big guy. We are the big guys. We're the ones that can kick your butt. We don't want to. We avoid it, but we will get in your grill. And I love this. So that's what we did November the 6th. They want to rub a little salve on the wound. So this book, that's this collection of interviews that's supposedly with people that he made in the Trump White House, including Ivanka and Jared Kushner. But there's a problem. He doesn't even believe his own writings. And CNN is using this book as a reference. And I'll get into that in just a second. But let me read you what this guy says. Michael Wolff, the author of Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House, included a note at the start that cast significant doubt on the reliability of the specifics contained in the rest of its pages. By the way, this is a leftist organization that's writing this. Here's what he said. Several of the sources, he says, were definitely lying to him, while some offered accounts that flatly contradicted those of others. But some were nonetheless included in this vivid account of the West Wing's workings, in a process Wolff describes as, quote, allowing the reader to judge whether the source's claims are true. Now, in the literature world, that's called fiction. That's what this is. This is a glorious fiction that the left wants to go, ooh, I'm all over it. Good for them. Let them buy into this fiction. And I'm just telling you guys, this is another one of these things where think of the Russian dossier. All right? In the Russian dossier, they created a work of fiction. They then said, hey, let's sell this as for real. And the FBI goes, oh, you know what? We hate Trump. We'll do it. And the media goes, hey, we won't tell anybody. We'll play along. And where has it gotten them? So now they got a new work of fiction. They know it's fiction. There are at least, and I'm not talking about conservative outlets, Huffington Post, Salon, all these leftists are going, little suspect this guy's book, and the author is a bit suspect himself. There's no right-wing conspiracy here, folks. The author admits that the new leftist Bible contains more fake news than fiction, and Jake Tapper of CNN had the nerve to quote the book and questioning this guy. I forget his name, but whatever his name is, he had the nerve. The article goes on. Many of the accounts of what has happened in the Trump White House are in conflict with one another. Many, in Trumpian fashion, are baldly untrue. These conflicts and the looseness with the truth, if not with reality, are an elemental thread of the book. Sometimes, this is a guy writing this, sometimes I have let the players offer their versions, in turn allowing the reader to judge them. In other instances, I have, through a consistency in the accounts and through sources I've come to trust, settled on a version of events I believe to be true. That's what the guy writes in his very book. More like red meat for butthead leftists. And these leftists are all too happy to soak up this anti-Trump madness like a biscuit in gravy. By the way, the same delusion foretold Hillary Clinton's loss and the coming beating of the Democrats. Here it comes, folks, in 2018. I've warned you. I've warned them. I'm not warning you. I'm just telling you. I'm warning them. They're going to get their butts kicked. Unbelievable. Now, when you're thinking about this story and the fictitious nature of it, I want you to remember all the bimbo eruptions that occurred with Donald Trump. You remember that? The strategy to trot these chicks out who Trump sexually abused, and a chick by the name of Rachel Crook, good name for her, appeared on Megyn Kelly. I talked about her, and she described her encounter with Donald Trump where she expressed horror that he asked for her phone number. Remember that? I'm not going to play the clip. And if it wasn't enough, if that wasn't enough of a sham wow, here's one that's a twofer, okay? All you got to do is pay additional shipping and handling. But another leftist shill, her name was Samantha Hovey, she declared that Trump had seen her naked under her robe when she was a beauty pageant. Now, I don't know how you see people naked under a robe unless you got the vision of Superman and you can see through walls and other objects. But Donald Trump did exactly what he did in all the other pageants, and they trot this woman out because guess what? The left wants to set a narrative. The comedy behind these women is breathtaking. Now, Wolf, he's peddling a book. But what's interesting, journalists have dismissed claims made about them in the book. This is not just the Trump administration saying this is nonsense. There are journalists, well, I use the term loosely, but I'm talking about people on the left who consider themselves journalists who go, you know what? He said this happened with me. That didn't happen. According to an article in the Washington Post, reporter Paul Farhi wrote a piece on Michael Wolff and his Trump book, Fire and Fury. And the headline was, "A Whale of a Trump Tale. But is it fishy?" Inside the headline is Wolff made up quotes some of the sources say. Now, he writes about Thomas Barack Jr., B-A-R-R-A-C-K, not Barack Obama. A billionaire friend of Donald Trump told a friend that Trump is not only crazy, he's stupid. And Barack on Wednesday denied to a New York Times reporter that he ever said such a thing. Now, let me tell you, this is a guy who's stirring things up. He's trying to get people to say, if Donald Trump said that about me, well, I'm going to say this about him. Katie Walsh, I've talked a lot about her because she's She's worthless, but she used to work for Reince Priebus, former White House advisor for Trump for a little bit. She disputed a comment attributed to her by Wolf that dealing with Trump was, quote, like trying to figure out what a child wants. These guys are incorrigible. But here's the good news, folks. Everything these guys do backfires. And all you have to do is be patient.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.